Goldin Auctions just raised $40 million from the Churning Group, and I'm here to talk about that deal and some of the changes I'm seeing in the sports card industry. Another day, another $1 million deal going down in the sports card industry. If you look at my predictions from early January of what I thought was going to happen in 2021 for sports cards, one of them was that I thought more money was going to be injected into the market, more money injected into just the business of sports cards in general. And now we have a $40 million investment by the Churning Group into Goldin Auctions. I think that this could mean that it's probably going to mean a couple things. I think one of the things is that Goldin Auctions could even be scaling down, I think, which would be a very interesting kind of different way to approach sports card auctions. You know, eBay has always been or not always, but since kind of it's been around, it's been one of the top places to buy sports cards. And, you know, I've seen a couple people talk about this on Instagram with their predictions about what's going to happen, what's Goldin Auctions going to do with this money. And I think it could even be that they're going to try and build a smaller auction house. They're going to try and build an auction house or just an auction system where people can buy and sell smaller value cards. Because, I mean, for them, yes, they obviously are getting a ton of money from selling some of these super high-end cards. But for them, I think they have a bigger goal within the sports card industry. Like Ken Goldin, if you listen to any of his Instagram lives or anything that he's ever talked about, you know, he's been in the sports card industry for 30 or 40 years at this point. So it's like it's his whole life, and he's been building this business, and now it's to a point where he's getting investors like Mark Cuban, Marky Mark from Mark Wahlberg, Logan Paul is invested in this group. Like I said, I mean, you know, who else was it? It was Kevin Durant was another one. I mean, there are Deshaun Watson was another. The list goes on. And if you go to Goldin Auctions, their Twitter, they listed out all the people that have invested into the Churning Group, which I think it's another big deal that the Churning Group is investing in them, because they are also the investors in Barstool, who is also one of the investors in Penn Gaming. Now, Penn Gaming is one of the largest casino companies or sports gambling companies, gambling in general, kind of in the United States. And they've grown pretty significantly over this past year. So I think you could see people like Barstool getting more into it. And, you know, you've seen Coach Doug's. I know Paul Bissonnette put out I think it was Paul Bissonnette. He put out a YouTube video where he went to card shops, he went to someone's house, and they did a break. So, you know, Barstool's getting involved. And I think what this also could mean is that they may be trying to get into casinos. Now, I don't know if it's Goldin Auctions is going to be the ones kind of getting into the casino industry or anything like that, but I think that if the Churning Group is investing in this part of sports cards, I think that they may try and put some sort of sports card entity in a casino. And that was one of my other predictions. I think the second or third one, so my three predictions at the beginning of the year were that there was going to be more deals like this, more deals where money's coming into the market, into the sports card industry, the business of sports cards. We were going to see a PSA 10 Mickey Mantle sell, which so far we've seen a PSA 9 sell for $5.2 million. I think that probably makes the PSA 10, I'd say, a $20 to $25 million card right now. So I'm not 100% sure if we are going to see that card sell this year anymore, because the fact that we saw a PSA 9, and we've also seen two PSA 8s. I think there was a PSA 8 that recently sold either through I think it was through Heritage Auctions. No, it was through Goldin Auctions. And now I think Heritage or Goldin has another PSA 8 that's selling. And, you know, obviously that PSA 9 sells for $5.2 million. And then the third prediction was that sports cards were going to get into the casinos somehow. But I'm not really here to necessarily talk about my predictions and how I've been right about one of the big ones. Well, yeah, I guess I am here to talk about that, because also, you know, we saw a deal in December where the same kind of group, Kevin Durant, AJ Vaynerchuk, and Matthew Dellavedova, they all invested into Star Stock. I'm not exactly sure. I'll be interested to see kind of where that money goes for Star Stock. They invested $1.2 million, and then Loop, a box breaking app, also raised a bunch of money. I think they raised $3 million, if I'm not mistaken. And the article that I read about this Goldin Auctions and the money that was there, they're bringing in a new CEO. I would imagine there's probably some sort of equity that went into the deal from Goldin Auctions to the Chernin Group. And on Bloomberg Business, the article that I was reading, they said that in January, Goldin Auctions, they generated $36 million worth of sales, where in 2019, all of 2019, they only generated $26 million, which granted, obviously with sales of stuff like the two Michael Jordans selling for $750,000 when, if a Jordan had sold in a Goldin Auctions in 2019, it would have been in the, I don't remember the exact price. I'm imagining it was probably in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. So that's obviously a huge difference in why they sold so much. And there was tons of other cards that sold, or there was a couple other cards that sold for $1 million. I think this is a big deal. I think that this means we are going to see Goldin Auctions kind of, I don't know if they're going to become the eBay of these larger auction houses, but I know they've talked about kind of doing some more data and doing more content stuff and getting more information out there, which would be great. And I think if they were to build some sort of platform, I've kind of talked about this, where I think a lot of people in the sports card industry are creating content, but I feel like if there was a way to, I guess, almost make like some sort of sports card search engine, I feel like that would be a great way to help the sports card industry, because I've talked about getting back into sports cards and looking through 10 different websites back in 2018 and trying to find the answer to the question, and then finding a vague answer, and then kind of asking someone either in the community or asking someone that I knew about what my question was, and they had a better answer most of the times than any of the websites that I saw. I think that was one thing that when I was getting back in, I was trying to build content and create content that would help someone who is maybe getting back in, and an easier way to learn. I don't think I did it correctly to the point where it's searchable, and I think that's kind of something with YouTube. That's where I've been trying to put more content on now, and it's crazy because almost every single week there is a new record being broken. There's a new $1 million deal within the industry. There's something new coming in that I just think that we are seeing the growth come in. And I recorded a video about Vegas Dave, and I got halfway through editing the video. I was like, there's honestly no point. I put that video out on Instagram about him talking about Mark Cuban, and he was liquidating his sports cards, and then literally Mark Cuban is one of the investors in this deal. I thought that was a kind of a little jokey joke there, because obviously that's if you read the article that he talked about, Mark Cuban didn't say that he was selling his sports cards. He talked about cryptocurrency and non-fungible tokens and sports cards in one sentence, and then went on to say that some of these markets are maybe a little bit inflated because of what's going on with interest rates and stuff like that. But I guess we'll move past that. And I just think that this shows that everybody's who's talking about a crash, I think that they have fine points. They have points where they're nervous about some of the high-end stuff. Everybody is nervous about a crash for a different reason, actually, in my opinion. So some people are nervous because they're nervous about the fractional ownership. Some people are nervous about a high-end market. They're worried about the low-end market. Like I've talked about in the past, the crash has been talked about literally since I've been getting back into sports cards. Back when Jordans were $40,000 for a PSA 10, people have been talking about those cards crashing. So I just don't see how this is going to happen. It's not that I don't necessarily see how a crash could happen. Obviously there's issues within the sports card industry that could cause it, but then you see investors like Mark Cuban and all of these people getting into cards and investing money in these companies. And I think that we're headed towards more of, and this is maybe from a content perspective for me, I think we're kind of headed towards a fantasy football sports betting atmosphere within sports cards, where people, the content creators in the sports card space are going to be in that conversation rather than just, because sports cards have become part of pop culture. And I think that's super important. And I think that's what Ken Goldin I think he was quoted in that Bloomberg article saying that he's been in this sports card industry for 40 years and he's never seen it like this. And he's never seen it to a point where now sports cards are cool and part of pop culture. And people are still saying, we're in the first inning. I know I've heard Gary Vee kind of reference that. And I think we're still kind of in that beginning stages of sports cards becoming becoming pop culture, becoming, one of the alternative investments. And I know people hate probably hearing that term when it comes to sports cards, but that's just what it is. It's, people nowadays, like maybe not people nowadays, but people of my generation that are older, maybe even older than me, maybe even younger than me, they have the means to invest money in these types of things like sports cards, or whether it's Bitcoin, or whether it's some sort of cryptocurrency, or it's Top Shot. They have the money to invest in these things, and I think that that's going to continue because we're seeing such a difference in the world right now, where we're in this digital world, and we're in a world where everything can be done online. And I think you don't have to, with Robinhood, and they've kind of gone through their struggles, but I'll use them as an example. We're going through a period in time where normal people, not normal, but where people don't have to go to these big like firms and contact financial people and be like, hey, I want to invest money, how do I do it? People are just investing their money how they want to, and almost doing it at no cost. So I think that's kind of a big difference. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, like a Fidelity or like a TD Ameritrade, like all those people. But like before, I think TD Ameritrade actually and Fidelity are free platforms. But the point is, people are able to invest now much easier than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago because of the internet. And I think that's where we're seeing people make more investments in alternate things, where they're not just saying, we'll just put all of our money into the stock market. Because, I'm sure there are some athletes that have done that. I'm sure there's some athletes that invest in different ways. But, athletes and celebrities and, content creators and people they're just investing in things that are different. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we're seeing, Loop getting $3 million, and we're seeing Goldin Auctions get $40 million. So it'll be, and then also PSA, that sale went through. So, PSA, another one. So the whole industry is changing, and I know that it can be scary for people, but I would suggest, learn the new industry. Like, try something new. Like, that's what I did. Like, things have even changed since I got back into it, but I haven't, I didn't just sit there and say, well, why isn't this happening, or why isn't that happening? You have to evolve and change in the industry, and that's just kind of how it goes with stuff that, changes, and kind of the changes happen because of the internet. So, that's pretty much all I've got for the sale. It's a huge sale. I'm super excited to see what Goldin Auctions is going to be doing in the future. If you have any thoughts or opinions on this Goldin Auctions sale, or any predictions about what's going to happen for the rest of the year, make sure to leave them in the comments. And if you like the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. I will see you all in the next video.